just click on the patients as normal, and then you can document and do everything in there. So trying to think about a normal workflow kind of day, kind of going into here, and then I think the problem is that it's shortchanging me on. So this is a patient list, and it's going to pull from your patient list. So how to go through your patient list. So this is going to be a big thing of like kind of setting up yourself for success. This one's set up to just to be the ER in the fake test environment. How do you make your own patient list? So to make your own patient list, so I want the blue team list. So I'm on blue team, I'm going to have a blue team list. You're going to make a custom list, go next, and you don't have to put anything here. You're going to put blue team. And then, so you could just hit finish, and then the list will be created, or you can hit next, and it'll bring up this option to set proxies. Proxies are who else is going to access this list. And so if you're going to be on blue team, you want the interns, the resident, the attending to have access to it. Then the next person has access to it. You want night float to have access to it so that they can just pull it up easy peasy. How to do that? There's two ways. There's a group way, which I don't know if we have approved group yet. I suspect we don't. And then there's a hard way, where you put each individual person's name in, fake name, put in fake person, search them, and then you would give them access for however long you want to. You give them full access, or you just give them read. So full access means they can add and remove people from the list. You give them, 10 years, and then you apply it. And so that person has access to the entirety of the list, and then once you sign off on it, then everybody will be able to see it. So got the custom list, blue, finish, and then add that over. And so this is your blue list. So how to get to people to blue list. So you have a patient here, add patient to list. Oh, sorry about that. Add to blue list. Go here, refresh, and so there's your patient on blue team. And then once everybody has a proxy, then everybody will have access to this. So I know in Citrus right now, we have all the floors, so it's easy to find where patients are. So it's a little bit harder to get to that through here. So what we can bring it up in the live version so that we actually see Genesis. But the way to pull up each individual floor is to go in and say Madigan. I know Madigan. You're going to go in, and so patients admitted to Madigan, and you're going to go to the individual floors. You just have to hit them. Did I miss it? Ambulatory nursing. That was it. And then we'll just put like big cath lab. So you just select all of these, and so these are all the beds in it, and so you just say this is cath lab, and then finish. And so everybody who's in the cath lab will show up. So what you'll do is you'll go in for ICU, you'll make a patient list, you'll go in, you'll do for 6B2, 6B1, 5C2, so you'll make a list for each place, and then once those are all in, you'll have all the patients that are currently admitted or pre-registered to go into those spots. So that's basics like making lists. Once you have your list, then you can go to your physician handoff, and this is the tool that you're can print out in the mornings in order to change someone's information. So like, where they're located at, what their problems are, what their medications are. Those will get filled in when you fill out their information, and then you can add like, patient is unstable, like this is what I want to be done overnight. To be able to make the change, you have to be a physician for the patient. So you have to assign yourself a relationship. You can do that here with everybody on the list when you come on and just say, I'm the doctor for everybody here. And then you can make changes for everybody. And then, so you want to print the list. So you go down to this select row, select all of them, and then you're going to print. And so you got the simplified list here, which is popping up on my computer. So it's going to look like this. So simplified, it'll be all this information right here, and it'll be filled in when there's stuff to do. And then there's also the detailed list, which is going to have pretty much everything on it. It's going to have their medications, their problems, whereas simplified just has a few things. And so it's like, you know, patient summary, situational awareness. This is going to be your iPass, basically. So you can print this out whenever you're going to be doing your physician handoff. So that's how you get everybody on the list. Any questions about these things? These are pretty straightforward. The biggest thing is managing your list yourself. It's a lot of upfront work, but then it's easy after that.
The list, you can choose what you're printing off from, right? If you're blue team right now, but you have access to the gold team one too, if you, whatever one you need to be printing, you just select it from there, and that's the one that you can print.
Yeah.
And then, see how it has all those extra boxes that most of them are probably pretty useless? If you do, yep, right there, layout configuration, you can actually remove them and customize it, just so you know. Like, I don't know if you need diet on your handout list for most patients, right? Or catheter.
Yeah. So you can adjust it to what, so it's not just
I would keep the resuscitation status though.
Yeah, probably. That's the reasonable point. I would see how the labs print out, because if it just looks ugly on there, you might just want to remove it. Because labs is a bit tricky finding out the best way to get it into your system. So that's going to be your physician handout, your patient list. That's going to be your quality of life stuff. So let's.
There was an issue with the patient handoff list printing out on the live version. Like, just the formatting was all jacked up and it wasn't able to be adjusted. So if you're on day one, I would not wait until the very end of the day to look at what it prints like. Check it early, because if you have to come up with another solution like Excel or handwritten, you might have to do that.
So we'll go through a. Here is in the ER. Hopefully not already admitted. So the big thing just to know for you guys. So like when you're admitting patients, there's two areas. So you're going to admit them from clinic, you're going to admit them from the ER, or you're going to admit them from another hospital. So from the ER, when you go into the ER tracking shell and you have the resident environment, or my experience is going to be resident, so you'll have the tracking board, so you'll see what it looks like for like them in the ER. Mine doesn't have it on here. And so you can just select the patient and then put in orders into their ER encounter. How it will work for patients who are coming in, so let's say you're coming in from another hospital. You call bed manager, you call the nursing supervisor, you say, I've got a patient coming in, they're going to tell you what floor they're going to, and they're going to create an encounter for you. And then what they're going to do is say, all right, the patient's sitting in, this is 6B2. The patient's going to go to 6B2, and then when you refresh it, when they tell you it's good to go, there'll be an encounter for that person even though they're not there yet, and that's where you're going to put your orders in for. So this is our fake patient. He's coming in, and so what you're going to do is you've reviewed everything, you've looked at their medical history, you've gone to JLV because that's where you have to find stuff. Once 45 days is up and its interest and alter are gone, you can look at outside records, hit or miss whether something's going to pull from that. And so you're going to start putting in your orders. So you're going to go in and you can put in orders from this here, but I prefer, the quickest way for me is to go up to this add orders tab here, and then it'll do a pop-up, once again on this side of the screen. And so what are you going to put in? So you're going to put in PSO, and then let's just do med general. But there's a few different kind of order sets. Don't worry about these. But you can just do med general admissions. And then now that those are ordered, I can click done. And so they'll show up in your order summary. So this is something people have been practicing with before. So you have your 2 order sets that are planned and pending. So this is your patient status. Patient's going to be admitted to the hospital, and we'll put them on tele. And so this shows that there's part of the order that's incomplete. The tricky thing with these is it's hard to see everything, but we'll get to that. And then you're going to go to your general order set. At any point in time, you can add something to the order set. So let's go to medications and say I want to add a medication. And then once again, it'll pop up over here because my split screen is terrible. And then acetaminophen 650 PRN. There you go. So that gets added to your list. And so if you go to save this, you can go to save this as a favorite. And then whatever additions you make to this, it can be your personal. And then whenever you go to order sets, then it'll be in there as your own. So like if I save that, go to add, and then go to my favorite plans, it's there. And so you can load it back up and then use it as your like go-to admission set. So we're in our med order set, and then what you're going to do is just click on everything that they need. Do they need cardiac monitoring? Do they need vital signs? The good thing about this system, it's looking weird because it's on my laptop, and so it looks super small. And that's going to be the thing you're going to find. But you can change, like click here, and then it should bring up, it's bringing up on over to the left side of the screen, so you can't see it, but every 4 hours, every 1 hour, and then it'll just change what it looks like. Same thing for pulse ox, you can change the timing, you can change where you need it, neuro checks you can add in there. So pretty much you just go down everything you think you need, you just go ahead and put that in there. There are other kind of sub-order sets, so like insulin management. So you're going to add it on there, and then it's going to bring this up. And so you say, well, do you want sliding scale insulin? And yes, I want the low correction, so I want to do it with Novolog. Then you're going to select your comment, which says sub-Q AC only, and then it'll pop up over there very slowly. And then once this sub-order set is done, then you just return back. So this will, like at the bottom, would be like nursing communication as well. It's freezing up on me.
Can you share my fave with other people, or it's just yours?
They should be able to search your order sets.
Okay.
So there's a few things missing in there that I left off. VTE prophylaxis is another one. You can just put reason for no, and then something to document, and then you can just put nothing that you did, then return. So ordering labs. So this is going to be something that we were coddled by with Accentrus, because we could put in whatever we wanted and say daily lab time now. And you get your first lab, and then the next one would be time for daily. And the nurses would basically just do that on their own on the back end, and they would track on that. Here, a big thing people will notice is like, you'll put in a lab, it's like, oh, I ordered twice a day. And so they don't know that, you know, it's for twice a day, it's 10 in the morning and 10 at night. And if you ordered that at 10:30, it's not gonna be done until 10 at night. So a big thing about knowing when you're gonna be putting in time, so daily is gonna be 10 in the morning, QAM is 8 in the morning, QPM is 8 at night, and then Q24 is gonna be a good friend of yours. There's a way to do BID dosing and actually go in and alter, like you can put what times you want the med to be given. But if you go in, it's like, oh yeah, it's daily and good to go, the labs are not gonna be ordered, and you're gonna be like, where are the labs? And then you look at the time for the nurses to collect, and it's set times. Same for medication, same for labs. So it's about being specific with the timing of your orders. So there's like QAM, and then another thing that comes pre-built into these orders is a stop time. So it'll default to be like, oh yeah, you get 1 draw, you get 3 draws. And so like whenever you go in to adjust the CBC, let's see if I can double click this one. Modify it. And then wait forever. It's down here.
Mhm.
So problem with, once again, with this is that it's so small. It's better on desktops than laptops. So collection date and time, you can put when it is. Future collect, no. Collected by nurse, you don't have to put that, the nurse will do that. And then that's all there is for this one, so there's not much for this one. Let's go. But this is where you would put, you know, what it's gonna be, how long you're gonna collect it. Sorry guys. Am I missing something?
There's a couple just navigation stuff I like to point out. If you go
It's 'cause
through
it's
the
something-
arrows so you can see the orders on the left. So this can become really confusing really fast if you're not careful. I'm just gonna point to it. But you'll notice that, so he did a couple order sets and they go under plans, right? So he did the admission order set right here for the admission. Here's the general admission order set, it's under plans. And then there's, if you keep scrolling down, there's orders. If you click on orders, none of those plans are showing up because they haven't been initiated. So they don't show under this part of orders unless they've already been initiated, right? I don't know why they made it this way, but just so you understand, you do the admission order set and you initiate that, because then the ED sees it and they know that they have to initiate that they have to admit the patient. You do your order set go up, you do your med general admission plan order set, but you don't initiate that, because if you initiate it, it becomes an ED order, and the ED nurses are supposed to do it. The ED nurses aren't gonna do it, and so they get to the floor, but you know what the floor nurses see? Not that order set, and so they have no orders, so they think, so then you have to redo them all. So do the PSO status orders, initiate those.
So right here, initiate now,
Yep.
and then,
And then
there's actually something where you can right click it, although it's.
Yeah, it should be able, it's freezing on us,
Oh, yeah.
so I'll just keep going for now until it unfreezes. And then you do your admission order set, but you just save it for later. And the nurses, you sign it, but you wait, and the nurses are supposed to be told to initiate that when the patient gets there.
So I'll tell you a few tips and tricks for that. So this is your order, you're initiating the admission order. You're gonna go to medical service, you're gonna say they're gonna go to internal medicine, blah, 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 internal medicine, the attending, whoever the doctor is gonna be attending, it'll pop up here. And then requested bed assignment, yes, because that's for nursing supervisor. And then you can put in additional comment for like who the resident is if you want at the bottom. Oh, stupid computer, whatever. So anyway, so you're going to order that for signature, and then it's going to sign. It's going to say there's something wrong with my power plan. First detail, there's no attending, it's just anybody. And then we'll get to the, we'll pick James. There you go. So, the initiate order is there, so it's gonna be signed, and then the med gin admission is still planned. So sign this order. Hopefully it's not signing my gin.
It shouldn't, right, cause they're two separate
Oh,
plans.
yeah.
So remember that this is all under plans that may or may not.
So
be
that's
finished.
all done, so refresh. And then my med gen still planned, this is initiated, and then, so you can go down to orders, and so there's the new admit order, and cardiac monitoring's in.
Do you guys see that? Does that make sense? It's all very confusing at first, but you get used to it pretty quick. It's not that
So talking about, plan for later. So with these order sets, it's gonna be helpful for two reasons. In the ER, going to the floor, because if you initiate it in the ER, all these labs and all these meds are gonna pop up for the ER nurse to do, and they are just gonna be like, I'm not dealing with this. Things can get lost in the fray. Or if a patient's a direct admit, you just plan it for when they arrive on the floor. And then what I will do is I'll add a communication order, nurse communication order, that says, on arrival to the floor, please initiate, the planned, admission order set. And they should be able to go in and just initiate it. Now, there was a problem where it was only, RNs were able to see planned order sets and LPNs weren't. And so order sets weren't getting initiated. So that's why I add that comment in there. It might be different now, so I just checked with the nurses if they're able to see it. But, or you can just have them page you when they reach the floor and you can initiate it whenever it's ready.
But just kind of as a orientation, if the nurse calls you and says there's no orders, either they weren't initiated, you initiated them in the ED, or they're looking in the wrong place, right? Cause if you go down to orders, you won't see planned order sets. So if you, in that one section. So those are kind of the most common, like, initially frustrating things that I see with the order sets and admission.
Any question on that? It's like a key fundamental difference between the old EMR and the new EMR. An order is an order, regardless of your environment, outpatient, ED, inpatient. So if you go ahead and just write all your orders for someone in the ED nurse sees everything you just did and says, what the heck? And it might not get done.
So you go just based on, sorry, you actually raised your hand, go ahead.
If you go through it and like click through all of these, but it's not time to initiate now and you're going to initiate it when the nurse calls you and says they're on the floor, like, does it save how you
Yep.
have it? So you can go ahead, like, ahead
So
of
you
time
click
and do
through,
everything you want.
you save it, you sign it, and you just click plan for later, and it
Yep.
will be
Down
all
here, plan
saved
for later.
exactly how you did it.
Okay.
And then all the nurse has to do is say initiate now, and everything that you did will now populate as orders.
Okay.
But you don't have to specify like a specific time for the plan for later.
No.
No, the point is that, no,
Okay.
yeah, it's just sitting there waiting.
So the nurses have permission to do the initiate now
That's-
order?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
They should.
They should do it, but sometimes they won't be able to see it, so I just kinda let them know.
But
So
if-
this is,
A planned order is still a signed order though.
it's
correct?
signed.
Yeah.
The plan is signed, if it's not even planned, then you won't even see it.
I think if it's not signed, then the nurses won't be able to initiate.
Yeah, they won't even be able to see it.
You
So this
sign it,
is,
and then you plan for later. We got a couple others.
Did you talk about the communication order with
Yeah.
nurses?
yeah.
Okay.
A communication order will, I'll put one in, but, whenever they pull up their, there's a view they have that shows all their tasks, and a communication order always pops up in task rather than something that's due. So it'd be like, ooh, a lab order due in an hour. It'll pop up when it's an hour, but, communication always pops up.
If you wanted to order a lab for now, would you order at the lab and then also order a communication order?
You could call the nurse or do a communication order, but if it comes up as stat, then it pops up on their computer and they see it.
Okay.
They don't have to refresh or anything. It's like the system is always refreshing on that end, so it's pretty
Okay.
easy. So you can just put it as stat right here.
Okay.
Where does it show the status if an order is signed or initiated or one or the other?
It'll be on this left side.
Yeah, so like I see plans and then orders, but like what if you planned something and signed it but didn't initiate it, where would it go then?
So if it's not initiated, then it will just look like,
It'll look like.
I gotta sign again because I'm exiting out of that, so it's like, you have to sign. So I signed it and then saved where I was at, and so it's still in planned. And so, if it's in planned, you can see other people's planned orders. But then this is signed and initiated, so it's marked as initiated. When you go to specific orders, like Dr. Paul was saying, you won't be able to see planned orders in this order set. So these are orders that are active in the patient's chart. If you want more detail, you can, should be able to right click it and then bring up order history. And then like who has activated this order, who's signed off on it, was it given, stuff like that. But you can do it like that, but that's how you do it.
Kind of confusing.
It's not intuitive to start.
Essentially, orders are things, under the section of orders, those are things that are happening.
Okay. good.
They have been set up to
Yeah.
be happening. And whether or not the nurse is pending it, or the nurse has already completed it, that's all under the orders.
These
section.
initiated orders become, they show up in here when they're initiated. Before they're initiated, they're just lingering up here, nothing.
And they say plan, but like that has nothing to do if they're signed or not.
No, plan.
They're signed, so.
Everything up there is signed?
They're signed by the
Yes.
physician, because you have to sign it in order to leave the page.
Oh,
So
okay.
like every time it kept popping up, I had to sign that I made a change. So I've signed that all these things are what I want to go into their order set. And when someone comes in and initiates it, then my signed orders get initiated. They sign that they initiate it. It like this, it'll scream at you if you don't put anything in there. But anybody can initiate it, as far as like whether it be a nurse or the doctor or another doctor comes in and signs it for you. But they'll be signing off on initiating whoever signed the first order. So if you plan for later, someone comes in and says, oh, I'm gonna help you out, your intern comes in, initiates the order set, then they're gonna sign everything off again and may have to fill in some missing details. But once that's initiated and signed, then it's an active order and the nurses can see it and act on it.
Okay.
Part of the reason I instruct it that way is because later, let's say you've got your GI bleeder and now he needs blood, you can do a blood transfusion order set, and you can just initiate it because they're already in the environment that the nurses need to see.
Okay.
So that's the way I bring it up that way, because there are times where it's fine for you to just go ahead and initiate them. The one time is when they're in the ED waiting, you wanna wait on the admission order set.
How about restricting initiation, so like if you would only want.
I'll do a quick burn through of, this is basically your work environment for, when you're gonna be like admitting a patient. I'll run through chief complaint, blah, 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 change it, sign it, it's active. Problem list, you're going to do either this visit or this visit in chronic. So when you're putting in a new history, you can just document it as chronic if it doesn't get carried over, which it won't. Or this visit, so it's something that you're actively managing. So you can put in a problem and then you can say, oh, it's this visit. Oh, well, you know what, morbid obesity, chronic, and we're dealing with this visit. So then it adds to your problem list so that it'll populate into your note whenever you want to see it. And then you can move it up and down as far as like active management of your problems.
That's a super key distinction between old system and new system, right? Problem list didn't mean anything, and now it means a heck of a lot.
Yeah.
So when you're on the outpatient, you need to trim your problem list constantly for your patients that you see. And then when they flip to the inpatient side and you're taking care of them, you're gonna have to like assign like what am I actively managing right now? And that carries with them the entire time, all the way throughout history.
Yeah. And then you go in, it's like, oh, well, they got this morbid obesity, they're not morbid anymore. Click resolve, it's gone. Then it goes into the resolve chronic problem. So it's always there. It's just not gonna be carried forward into the notes. You can also do fancy stuff and then modify and then put text as like, they tried this medication, did this surgery. So you give history about their obesity. And then it won't show up in the documentation, but people can read it. Allergies, you can just add an allergy there. Vital signs will get added in. You can add medications from this screen here. I don't do it because I don't like to. Home medications. So you got your med history here. So it'll pop up over here. So this should be carried over from Accentrus. it should be carried from Alta and from CHCS. And so it'll kind of list things in italics when you first see it, because it's not an active order in our system, but it's a known order. So it's like, oh, well, you know, we don't really know what they're taking, so maybe you can usually document by history and add something in, or you can add a medication that they're taking, say they're taking lisinopril.
It's like Alta.
10 milligrams every day. So that's their prescription. So see, it's got this. It's like, oh, well, they're taking it, but, you know, like, it's just based on us saying that they're taking it. So add another medication.
Yeah, just so you know, basically here there's gonna be three symbols. Either a script like this, which means in our system there's not an active order, but it's something they take. There's gonna be a pill box, which means they have a prescription they can go pick up, or there'll be a little hospital picture that looks like a really terrible graphic, but that means it's an inpatient order.
3 medications. You can go down here and change how much they're taking, when they're taking, blah, 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 what it's PRN, order comments, whether they're taking it or not, and then you're just gonna document by history. And so you're going to say, yep, these are the medications my patient's taking.
Is it like Alta where it's going to populate every instance of it being prescribed, or is it?
No.
Okay.
It should be more streamlined. And then the overlap should to combine. But then you can also right click and like discontinue orders and just remove it from their med list. Once this is documented by history, then you can order them as inpatient, which I will get to once this, because this is the best part of y'all's lives going forward. Like not having to write this out every time, not having to do one piece of paper, like a document of med history note. It's like, you just click a button. It says continue, hold, discontinue. Eventually.
Medrecs for admission and discharge are 100 times easier.
While this is loading, are there other questions?
That makes sense for like a beneficiary who's in our system, but with the VA patients, do you know how that will be for them?
I'm trying to remember if it populates with VA meds or not. But
It
either
sh-
way,
Hopefully, I should. I'm not too sure though.
it's still helpful though, because once you document that history, it's now documented, and so when you go to do your admission med rec, then the list is there and you can choose which ones to keep going. So that way you don't have to re-enter them as orders.
So
Right.
it's weird because my encounter is set as like outpatient right now. So just go with it on this, but
It'll
this
look
would be
the
your
same when you do
admission.
it.
This would say admission.
Yeah.
And then it would bring this up. And it would bring this up. So green means order the medication. So you're gonna order the medication, and when the live system goes, it'll be like
A little hospital.
yeah, it'll be on here, and you can say where you want the medication to go. So it's like, I want to like continue this. So this means they already have the meds and you're not giving them more. I want to prescribe a new medication. So you're going to click this, and that means the discharge pharmacy is going to give them this medication. And so leaving that, so like I started albuterol on this patient, you know, they've got a nebulizer. Do you want to keep them going on nebulizer? Sure, there you go. Or you can add a new medication to send them home with. So you've added up here. And so I'm going to give them a nice prescription of ivermectin out the door because I'm a real good.
What a good doctor.
I'm such a great doctor. There you go. Get a Z pack out the door instead of the ivermectin. So you got that, and then it'll be something you can add in there and choose your pharmacy, and it'll be our pharmacy, but since it's a fake environment.
To modify a medication, do you have to discontinue it and then reorder it?
You don't have to.
If you do the pill box, you can change it, right? So see how under furosemide he put the pill box? That means I want them to keep taking this med, but I
You can
want to give
change
them a
the
new
order.
prescription of it,
Yeah.
but then
Okay.
you can change it as well.
Okay, okay,
So you just do the pill box.
okay.
But I've frozen things, so I've done good.
Though to be honest, when you do the pill box, if you change it, I think it discontinues the original one and makes
It, yeah, it does
one
it for you.
automatic.
Oh,
So
okay.
you don't have to go through everything and do silly stuff. But so like, click that, and then because I'm a laptop, everything's tiny. And then you just go in there and then do the details. It just wants me to select pharmacy is what it is. But it'll default for you guys to be tripler when the environment comes in. So the medication's good to go. They're gonna be prescribed as they leave. These ones, we're not prescribing anything because they're already taking it, say good to go. And then this one we would be sending them home with, so we do the same thing where we'd say, we'd give them the instructions and then just kind of go from there. And so once you, and then if there's any medications when you're doing the med rec that you don't want to continue, then you're just gonna X and say, like, this is, we'll go on the discharge instruction, says stop taking this medication. If it's any inpatient medications that like IV, it's like discontinue IV. It's like Tylenol order, there's Cytosol insulin, you discontinue all that. And so, and then it would be two different things on here. It's like plan for later or sign now, as far as like when you were doing this. But since I'm in the discharge, it looks a little bit different.
Don't go yet.
So then, do I have to order it on CHCS after?
No.
No.
CHS doesn't exist.
CHS is dead.
But no, the point is, once you do when you do the admission med rec, you say green on the furosemide, the patient will automatically be ordered Lasix as an inpatient.
Yeah.
By pushing that green button, you've now ordered it.
Yeah. So like,
Okay.
for the new system, so patient coming in, like they've got the Lasix, they've got lisinopril, they're not gonna get a new order in our system, or they shouldn't, depending on pharmacy workflow. But like if they needed a new prescription of this, clicking this doesn't do anything. If they need a new prescription, you have to click this and prescribe them more. This just says, I agree that they should keep
That's
taking it.
outpatient. Yeah.
Well,
When you're
yeah.
admitting them, the green arrow puts in an order that they get that med as an inpatient.
Got a question, for the, for the people that like to pick up their beds at like Makalapa, we always had to select that in Alta. Do we not do that anymore, or?
So we select it right here. So this is gonna be where all the pharmacies are.
Oh, there's just gonna be a list of them?
There's gonna be a list of them. And then there's also a list for Express Scripts. So instead of filling out the forms, you just click Express Scripts, and it'll send it to them.
That's great.
Now there's some work that goes into it on the front end, but it's just clicking here.
I mean, I like to point this out,
Oh no, keep going. I could not sign it.
Oh, it's gonna mess up. Down at the bottom where there's two buttons that I found extremely helpful just in terms of workload, partially because, again, I don't know why they did it this way, but when you do discharge your patient, there's gonna be the inpatient order and there's gonna be the outpatient med reconciliation for meds. And the easiest way to go through it is just push green for the outpatient med for all the ones you want, and then say discontinue the rest.
There's a couple other
there'll be
nuanced
duplicates.
things, is that like side notes. So like
Yeah.
when you're consulting a service, you have to order the consult to that service.
Mhm.
So you have to put in an order for the service, what you want for them to get paid for it. And then you pretty much have to order like everything. It's like,
Do you mind just pushing the discharge button?
yeah,
and then I'll just
I
follow
think
the
I
rest?
press it, it's over here, sorry.
Yeah, so it's down at the bottom right, continue remaining home meds, and you do not continue remaining orders. Just it just speeds your way if you've got a big list of meds to click through. Cause you can just do continue remaining home meds and then, so just click the ones that are changing, or the ones that are new, and then just click those bottom buttons after
Yeah,
that.
it'll save you
and
time.
And then, for long lists, it saves you time.
The other thing is, so for consults, usually at discharge, we would put in a consult order to pharmacy for discharge medication recommendation so that they know. So it's just a consult discharge pharmacy.
Oh, that's new.
I don't know if they're gonna do it here at Tripler, but that's something that they may, implement. And then, let's see, going down, let's see, home medications, blah, 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 review systems. So then you can input your histories, procedures, family, social, so you have to click these to add, you click here to add history. Care pathways, I don't know what that is. Quick visit, I don't know what that is. Here you could document your SI, HI, blah, 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 IMS, this is outpatient. Documents, you can copy stuff over. There's a way to add images if you're fancy. Labs will pop up here. Two ways to copy labs into your note. You just highlight them and tag them, which is not my favorite way of doing it. You can copy image into your note. Typically what you'll do is you open up the image, highlight the information, right click and tag is what I do. You can also Control C to copy text and it won't tag. Microbiology is all your lab stuff or your cultures and stuff. This is their outstanding orders which haven't been signed off on yet or done. And then this is your patient education. These are all like subtle things that aren't really important for getting started. And then assessment and plan, it's gonna default to these here. You can change all this, like based on what you put in for your problems up top. It'll be ranked 1 and 2, but you can change anything you want and then just kind of adjust it based on that. You can delete everything. Like I don't want this to show up in my note, delete. You want to document, you want to start a new note, you can go in and select other note, and then type admission HMP. You can free text the note, you can do whatever you want to do. There you go. And then you can change the title of the note to whatever you want, and then you press OK and it generates a note. And then you just edit this. My favorite way to go through, you can free text stuff in here, but it won't save into the permanent record. Key results. My favorite thing to do is to find whichever .lab works best and go with that one. Because it'll pull over and look like that. So there's like .er labs /er labs. There's like a lot of them. Find whatever one looks the best and go with that, rather than tagging labs. And then you can just populate a bunch of stuff in there. There's really fancy stuff where you can just pull specific labs, but I don't know how to do it. And then you just okay. So if you want someone else to change your note, so like med students rotating with you, or if the intern wants the attending to change things, so it's like a discharge summary, you're going to save and close the note. Sounds good, beautiful. And then once it's saved and closed, it's going to give you an option to do nothing. And so you go back to your documents, patient here, in this, documentation. So refresh. So this is the note that I've got here. And so this is not signed, but you can still see it. But you want to send this to another doctor. So you will left click it, and then you're going to forward. And then you're going to say who you want to, I want somebody to sign it. So you'll send it to whatever attending or resident, and you'll send it to sign. And then that person can do the same thing. They can review it and then save it and then forward it to somebody else. So that's the way to get notes signed. It's a little bit harder than Accentress where everybody can change it whenever they want, but that's how you do it. I think that's the main stuff. I know I talked a lot.
All right.
There's more nuance stuff.
We're always just gonna save it and forward it, and the attending ultimately has this.
So save and forward if you want a note to change. The attending can sign and make an addendum. But whenever something is signed, there's no changes to it. So the residents can, if the attendings are cool and they don't want to make changes to the body of the note, sign and forward, and then the attending will get it in their inbox for signature on the messaging center. So it'll pop up in here under documents, things for them to sign. And then they can go in and it'll say like, sign with additional comment, and it'll pop up at the bottom of the note, the addendum where the attending signed. But in order to make changes, they have to be the save and forward.
And so the attendings can't just go in and find notes and sign them. It has to be forwarded to.
They can, I think you can just go in and sign something, but
okay.
I'd have to double check. I think they have to be forwarded though. But you can go back and forward it afterwards if it's been signed.
When they're forwarded, are they forwarded to the same place? Will they show up in your documents?
They'll show up in here.
Yeah. And again, to get to JLV, that's on the menu screen.
Yes.
Because that's where all everybody tracking that's where all the legacy stuff is going to be going. Is all the Alta and everything is going to be in JLV.
There's 2 ways to get there. Chart JLV at the top, and then in the patient's information, it's over here on this blue one, and it's right here on the left.
So is Accentress like Like, they're gonna totally take a Centris away, so I can't even go look at past hospitalization?
After 45 days.
Yeah.
So, are they transferring the Centris stuff into JLB too?
Correct.
They should only be admission and discharge notes.
Yeah.
I don't know if daily notes make it over.
Okay, okay.
So, better have a good discharge, exactly. So you can go in and right click the note and then like select another note, and then if you have the ability to sign it, it'll let you sign it. But if not, it'll just like be marked as review or modify.
Any other questions? If it's okay, if any of you have time to stay, I'm gonna log into the live environment so we can look at the actual locations. So specifically.
Wait, you click this one.
You clicked that one, and then you signed in, right? And then
Alvin, you don't even remember that much.
No, I don't actually.
Look at it.
Oh, man.
This is like Dr. Roberts. Are you like the informatics guy?
Wait, were you Dr.
I was
Roberts?
testing you
Dr. Roberts
guys.
was in my class.
Oh, I've been teaching him for an entire month. This is how I know everything. It's because he was freaking out, and I was just like, "It's okay, Dr. Roberts, it's just this button right here,
Wait, I was-
right here."
He was in my class and he was doing it.
He gets so
you did your own sign on.
so
Karen.
bad with computers.
Okay, cool.
One moment there.
That email made it sound so scary.
Okay, everybody knows about my experience.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to be so, like, all right, so like you're either all right. So if you click on my experience, this is how you designate yourself as an ambulatory or inpatient provider. So ambulatory or hospitalist are the two options, right?
For us, ours will only be resident on this side.
Oh, okay.
For us,
Okay.
yeah, but on the other two are the same. But for us, we only have the option to be resident.
And then you probably have different views though.
Yeah.
So this hospitalist medicine view over here for
Yes,
inpatient.
this is important because if you're in the ICU physically, but you are in the view of ambulatory care, you will not be able to see flow sheets. So you have to change your view to intensive care. There's ambulatory, hospitalist, and intensive care. Those are three that we'll be using. Whatever environment you're in, you should choose accordingly.
All right, so patient lists are like where this gets really dicey with the cross cover, right? We did a couple things, like we tried to say like, okay, well, can we go by medical service? Because everybody has to have a medical service tagged to them. But if I just choose internal medicine as my medical service, then I don't have any of the consults. I don't have visibility on any of the consults, so that doesn't work. Care team is what Kelly thinks would be a great idea, and what everybody else should think is a great idea, but we didn't pay for care team. Because so we don't have like a consistent blue team that can just be like tracked in one place. So you can either make your own, like he was showing you, like create a blank list, blue, add all the patients. That's the easiest thing to do. If you want to do it like a Centris, you can choose location. And I did want to show this to everybody. So when you open up list locations, the first one, 0052A, that's Tripler. And then there's 3 buildings. So building 1 has all of the wards, but anything with this ADM stuff, it's all nonsense. You gotta keep scrolling down. Keep scrolling down. Okay, here we are. See like the little nurse cap? Now this is like, these are our actual wards. So mixed med-surg telemetry, that's 6C2. Inpatient mixed med-surgical ward, that's actually the PCU. Then they list 5C2, and they list 6B1, 6B2. So I have all of the wards now, and those are all, like I said, in building 1. Close that, go to building 3. That's where your cath lab is, but this is also where the ICU is. I might have passed it.
No, it's inpatient. TMC for inpatient. Scroll down to I.
Inpatient, mixed med-surg, ICU. Actually, don't. That's nothing. Okay. So these are all our ICU beds. So now I've fully selected everything that is like every location that would have my patients, right? And I can like rename that to, I don't know, full hospital, something like that. Next. Now, if you want other people to be able to access this, this is what he was showing. You can do new. You can search by provider, so I can like literally find Mike Abdo. Oh, oops. I can give him full access, and like you have to put dates and all of these things, so you can like make it like 2051. And so Mike is a full proxy with complete access to this list. Finish.
Add it to your lists. You didn't add it
Oh,
to your
yeah,
lists.
move it over. So if nothing else, on like day one, you can make this list, and your cross cover can at least see all the patients. He doesn't know who's exactly assigned.
Try not to gesture into the field of view if you can. You're doing great. You're doing great.
So if nothing else, this will give you like full visibility, and you can even do this for the individual wards if you wanted to. Like this will like let you see all of the patients in the hospital at once.
But you did, remember you were telling me the discharge thing?
Oh yes. Okay, so.
Oh yeah, you have to make sure they're not
I
discharged.
forgot to do something, and I want to change my list. How do I do that? So if you go up here next to the wrench that was the list maintenance, there's properties. So I'm gonna click properties, and then I just had location, but I'm also gonna look for this. So there's a chance that you might be seeing extra people. We don't know if it's gonna happen or not, but you can click only display patients that have not been discharged underneath discharge criteria here, and theoretically that will give you only admitted patients. I don't know why a non-admitted patient might show up in the ICU, but just in case it happens. That's something that they said was useful to them, this little button. Only display patients that have not been discharged.
Can you bring up the ED board?
Maybe. How do I get there? Let's see.
ED
ED tracking list.
Wait, so patient list and then
So the ED tracking list is actually really nice. So you can see the different ones, and usually we just look at all beds. So this is where you find all this stuff.
Thanks. And so that'll show you everybody that's in the ED currently.
Essentially T-Systems
Okay.
view.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do. Like, I think I deleted my assigned patients, but you can create a list of just your relationship. You're assigned to them, and when you go through patients, you can right click and actually I think you have to open up their chart to assign them to you.
Because you have to be a
So
physician.
assign a relationship. You can be the covering or the
Consulting.
consulting.
Or yeah.
That person right there has a list. So. Any questions on this stuff? If you do make a list for your team, like blue team list, gold team list, it's just going to be like somebody has to assign that to the cross-cover intern every night. And so like my idea of like envisioning a sign out to the cross-cover intern is the intern saying, hey, I assigned you my list, can you open it and we'll do our sign out, right? So like that, like an actual cross-cover person like opens the list and runs through it with them, and that's proof that they have assigned them the list so they can see it. We can always modify that, but that's my thought. Any other questions? All right, I just wanted to show you guys how to find the locations mostly.